if it's all right with you, I'm just going to stay seated down because I am worn out. I can't remember the time before this COP began and what my previous life was like. And I've managed to come down with a cold or something. But boy, is it good to be here. I've spent the last couple of days at Le Bourget, and it is bleak and cold, and if you're not there, you're missing literally nothing. Although there is an excellent sandwich thing in Hall 3, I must say. But here's where the work's being done, and here's where the work's been done in places like this for the last 5 years. Some of you were probably at Copenhagen. The difference between Copenhagen and now is enormous. It's not that we're going to get an amazing treaty out of here, but something's going to happen, and there's huge movement underway around the world. And the reason that things are starting to shift, the reason that we're beginning to block pipelines and coal mines, the reason that we're starting to divest, is because what we didn't have going into Copenhagen was a big mass movement around the world. And now all of you have built it, and as we put more and more pressure on these systems, that's when things begin to change. Not fast enough, okay? We've got to build it bigger and push harder. But we're now beginning to reach the point where we represent some kind of actual threat to the hegemony of the fossil fuel system. And that's a beautiful place to be, so thank you all. The divestment thing has been one big part of it. It sort of started 3 years ago now, I guess, or 3.5 almost, really about 3 years ago. And it has spread so much faster than we thought it ever would. I remember just a little 2.5 or so years ago when we had the very first college to divest, the very first institution of any kind. It was a tiny college in the US state of Maine with an endowment of $10 million, I think, and we were so happy when it divested, when it did the right thing, and very eagerly. And then things started to snowball, and by September of last year, when the Rockefeller family, the first family of fossil fuel, the heir to the original oil fortune, when they said it's not morally proper nor financially wise to be invested in coal and gas and oil, when they divested, that took us to $50 billion worth of endowments and portfolios, but it was a kind of psychological breaking point. Suddenly lots of people were saying to themselves, well, if the Rockefellers don't want to be invested in fossil fuel, why do I, you know? And so in the 12 months after that, we went from $50 billion to 3-point-some trillion dollars. It really has taken a lot of money out of things. Now, when we started, we didn't think that was going to be part of this, but by this point, it's making it difficult for people, especially coal companies, to raise capital, and that's powerful to see. The second reason, even more important, is that in those 3 years, you guys have driven into the absolute heart of the conventional wisdom this idea that we have to leave most fossil fuel in the ground. That's what the divestment movement, above all, has been a vehicle for. When we started, 3 years ago, I wrote an article for Rolling Stone that, you know, if you save your back issues, the one with Justin Bieber on the cover, okay? And it was one of the first times that people had laid out this math that we have to leave most of this stuff underground. Well, in 3 years, because of your work, not mine, because of your work, it went from the cover of Rolling Stone, and now everybody thinks it. Now the head of the World Bank says it, and the IMF, and Deutsche Bank, and the governor of the Bank of England speaking to Lloyd's of London Insurance, which is pretty much the definition of establishment, you know, if you think about it. They're like, yeah, you guys have way too much exposure to unburnable carbon that's going to become stranded assets, okay? These things have become something that everybody who knows anything about this stuff now kind of understands and knows, and it's beginning to reshape the debate. So you've done an unbelievable job of making it happen. And now we just try and keep this momentum going, and we try and merge it with all the other things that people are doing all over the place in this fight for climate justice. Merge it with the work that we're all doing to stop particular fossil fuel projects, you know. All the pipelines and coal mines and things that remind us very explicitly why we need divestment. And then there are these enormous new possibilities opening up for how to take this stuff to these fossil fuel companies hard. I think we're going to spend a lot of time in the year to come talking about ExxonMobil, the biggest fossil fuel industry on Earth, which turns out also to be the biggest liars in the history of the planet. Guys who knew everything that there was to know about climate change 30 years ago and just flat out built this big architecture of deception and denial. We all together are going to make sure that nobody wants to be associated. We got to turn them into the pariahs of our economy and our society. And in the process, we will continue to weaken this industry so we can actually get somewhere. Because, and here's the tough part of all of this, we're not getting where we need to get as fast as we need to get there. Yeah, kind of, the world is sort of headed in the right direction in a better way than it was after Copenhagen. We've begun to like set targets and so on and so forth. But this is not one of these normal problems where getting going in the right direction is the most important thing, okay? It's necessary, but unlike most problems, this one has a time limit. So the speed with which we move is the most important thing. And we're not, I mean, in the last 10 days while we've been here in Paris, we've had epic floods that killed hundreds of people in Chennai. We had some of the biggest rainstorms in the history of the United Kingdom. We had 200-year record flood in Norway. We've had in the Maldives the highest rainfall ever recorded. The city of Portland, Oregon had the single rainiest day in its entire history. 13 counties there are a disaster area today. This is what a world looks like that's gotten warmer. Warm air holds more water vapor than cold. We're way behind, so accelerating is the absolute essence of the game now, making it go faster. And divestment continues to be a remarkable tool for that, because even when we don't win, it's the tool for education, just repeating over and over and over again what we now understand about this industry and their hold on things. It's so powerful. So I just want to stop there and say incredible thanks to you guys for making this happen in so many places, and to all of you. And we will look forward to seeing everybody out there tomorrow, very chill and very together and very much in solidarity with each other. It's going to be one more of these occasions that we kind of keep this movement building, growing, attracting other people all the time, because the goal of movements is always to attract more people, to reach further out into the center, to get more people engaged. And divestment has been such a tool for doing that. So thank you all so much.